This lesson, we're going to be discussing human anatomy in the 21st century, an introduction. And this is chapter 1 of the fundamentals of medicine and dentistry, volume 1, human anatomy. The core curriculum and minimum academic standards for Nigerian university system is unique and has quite a number of features. And as I have said, this lesson is taken from the book 1, volume 1, which is human anatomy. It has the learning outcomes as indicated at the end of the course. You should be able to do the 16 items that have been listed here. And more importantly, you should be able to classify the basic divisions of anatomy into regional, systemic, and you also should be able to understand the meaning of human anatomy. And we are going to be discussing specifically human anatomy as it stands in this 21st century. After completing this chapter, as I've said, you should be able to discuss the subject of human anatomy and its role in the study of medicine and dentistry, discuss the basic divisions of anatomy, and discuss the developments in anatomy, particularly in the 21st century. We have 3 objectives which I've outlined. And what is human anatomy? Human anatomy really is the study of human body and bodily structures. And it's an ancient basic medical science. An understanding of anatomy is very important in the practice of medicine and other areas of health. And the knowledge of anatomy remains the foundation for all medical and allied medical courses. It's a fundamental requirement and component of medical and dental education. The origin of the word anatomy is very interesting. It comes from the Greek words ana, meaning up, and tome, meaning a cutting. Traditionally, studies of anatomy have involved cutting up and dissecting organisms. And in this particular case, we're talking of human anatomy. That means it applies to the human. Modern technology, particularly imaging techniques, can reveal much about the inner body, thereby reducing the need for dissection in this modern era. We have gross, macro, or topographical anatomy, which refers to the study of biological structures that the naked eye can see. Gross anatomy may involve dissection or non-invasive methods. What do we mean by dissection? Dissection involves the cutting of the body to examine what is inside. Medical and dental students perform dissection of cadavers as part of their practicals. As we have gross anatomy, we also have microscopic anatomy, also known as histology. Is the study of cells and tissues that are difficult to see without the use of a microscope. Anatomy has greatly evolved, and its modern form has greater contributions to make to various walks of life, even beyond biomedical sciences. There are several methods of and models for studying and learning human anatomy, but the most common ones are regional anatomy, systemic anatomy, and clinical anatomy. Now, how about the historical beginning of anatomy? It is claimed that the first anatomical dissection of human beings were performed by Herophilus of Chalcedon, 335 to 280 BC, and Erasistratus of Chios, 300 to 250 BC. But the early instance of formal anatomical studies was actually recorded in Egypt about 500 years before Christ. That's according to Moandali 2006. The study of anatomy was greatly advanced by Galen, who propounded concepts and made important discoveries through his medical practice and his dissection of animals. Anatomical studies in our country here in Nigeria started as a subject in medicine at the then higher college, Yaba, Lagos, in 1930. And as a follow-up to that, the Anatomy Act of Nigeria was enacted on the 30th of March, 1933. It's a statute which enables the practice of anatomy in schools, permits medical practitioners, superintendents of schools of anatomy, teachers in such schools, or any student attending such schools to anatomically examine or dissect received bodies. Now we have some modern tools for the study and teaching of human anatomy. These modern tools now include dissection, prosection, plastination, anatomical informatics, imaging, and living anatomy. So we're going to be looking at each of these to understand exactly what we mean by these terminologies. Prosection refers to students, a situation in which students learn from an already dissected cadaver, providing access to the real anatomical structures without the need for several hours of dissection. In other words, a demonstrator most of the time dissects and explains to an audience in place of dissection by the students. And then plastination is a preservation technique using chemical materials which are injected or introduced into dissected cadaver structures and even whole bodies. When we use plastination, the anatomical preparations are easy to preserve without chemical preservatives, which are required for dissection and prosection, thereby limiting the number of dissections. It is also odorless. Living anatomy is the study of another living being without the need for dissection. It could be physical examination of our own bodies, their peers, or simulated patients to identify structures. It could also utilize painting or drawing of anatomical structures on the skin, directly on the skin, or wearing specially designed clothing so that the students can better understand the surface distribution or mapping of some important anatomical landmarks. Organization of the human body is also very important in anatomy. The human body is organized into cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, and the total organism. All these constitute, the cells, the tissues, the organ systems constitute the total organism. Cells are the smallest living unit of the body. A tissue is a grouping of like cells working together, such as the muscle. An organ is a structure composed of several different tissues performing a particular function. An example is the heart. Systems are groups of organs which together perform an overall function, such as the digestive system. Then let's talk a little bit about human cadaveric dissection. Human dissection, cadaveric dissection was practiced in Italy from 13th century. It was officially conducted in France from middle of 14th century, but was limited mostly to the use of criminal bodies. Andreas Vesalius exposed the errors of Galen's theories, which were based on animal dissections, and this led to the replacement of complete dependency on ancient authoritative books with the learning of anatomy from dissected human cadaver. It was a landmark in the study of human anatomy. Cadaveric dissection became the most significant tool for the study of anatomy from that point. During the latter part of the 20th century, initiatives were undertaken in different parts of the world to promote body donation for the purpose of anatomical studies. Now, the rise of ancient Greek medicine paved the way for the inception of human cadaveric dissection as a tool for teaching anatomy in the 3rd century BC. Unfortunately, the practice of human dissection was prohibited in Europe during the Middle Ages due to religious and popular beliefs. However, it was revived in the 14th century, and from that point, human dissection began to have some prominence and became an integral part of anatomy teaching in medical schools. During the 14th century, permission for human dissection was given only within the university premises, and dissections were conducted using the cadaver of executed criminals once or twice a year. This gave rise to what we now refer to as anatomical theaters. This dissection became a regular event in European universities at the beginning of the 15th century, and the supply of criminal bodies proved insufficient. In the early days, cadaveric dissection was messy, and as you will expect, and require great physical strength and ability to withstand the smell of corpses as they decomposed. Due to natural decomposition, the cadaver was suitable for dissection in the first 3 to 4 days following death, as after this, the stench became too much for the dissector to bear. We now have chemicals and so many other things to preserve, the cadaver. The popularity of dissection started to spread beyond the boundaries of the universities among the general population, leading to public dissection sessions being attended by huge crowds and sufficient establishment of anatomical theaters. I will now project some slides, to illustrate this. Dissection of a cadaver in the 15th century. This is a painting which shows, what was the practice in the 15th century. And then this is Andrea Vesalius undertaking an anatomical lecture surrounded by students and the general public, viewing the dissection from the gallery. This is what we refer to as anatomical theater. Anatomical dissection sessions were social events in those days, being attended by students as well as the general public on payment of an entrance fee. Now, this is a drawing of Dr. Nicholas Torp, official city anatomist of the Amsterdam Guild of Surgeons, which was drawn by Rembrandt in 1632. Human dissection has been used as the core teaching tool in anatomy for centuries. It's a method of studying and teaching anatomy that is characterized by individual or small group experiences in which cadavers, human bodies are actively explored to find the structures. Cadaveric dissection has traditionally been regarded as the most efficacious teaching method for learning anatomy. But the advent of modern technology has altered the perception of how human anatomy can be studied and taught. In some medical schools, dissection has been replaced with other teaching modalities. So why do we need to study anatomy? Why is it important? The knowledge of anatomy is essential for good clinical practice and for the thorough understanding and utilization of advances in diagnostic imaging, surgical procedures, rehabilitation, and the provision of prosthesis, among others. Anatomy is considered to be the oldest basic science and allows healthcare professionals in training and even those who have graduated and in practice to understand the structure of the human body and contextualize it in the dynamic concepts of health, illness, and disability. Human anatomy provides the foundation for the technical and anatomical language required for pharmacology, pathology, physiology, patient assessment, and surgical and therapeutic basics, along with those of each of the medical surgical specialties and internal medicine. This is according to Suarez Escudero et al. In 2020. Modern anatomy covers quite a number of divisions and subdisciplines, and examples include those that have been listed here: systematic anatomy, regional anatomy, microscopic anatomy, developmental anatomy, functional anatomy, surface anatomy, and so many others: radiological anatomy, comparative anatomy, forensic anatomy, anthropological anatomy, artistic anatomy, and so many. Then advances in technology have revolutionized the study of and teaching of human anatomy, and it has enhanced the way students and professionals learn about the human body. Technology has provided new and innovative ways to visualize and understand the complexities of the human body. And we just quickly run through some of these modern technologies. They include virtual or digital cadaver bodies, which can be shown and manipulated on computers, tablets, digital screens, and smartphones, or through online virtual education platforms. It has also led to the use of virtual reality, which is the immersive type, and augmented reality, which is non-immersive, and then a mixed reality. We also have haptic technology and virtual dissection tables. Virtual reality transports users to a completely artificial environment, and that's why we say it's immersive, blocking the information from the physical environment. Augmented reality, on the other hand, is a technology that combines digital information and real information from the environment. And that's why we say that is non-immersive through a camera, tablet, or mobile phone. Virtual and augmented reality provides immersive experience for the visualization and interaction with 3D models of the human body. So we also have advanced imaging techniques which have been developed, such as computed tomography, which is CT, commonly referred to as CT. And then we all have the magnetic resonance imaging, which is MRI. They have had significant impact on the study and teaching of human anatomy. These techniques allow for high-resolution imaging, providing the opportunity to obtain detailed information about the structures, anatomical variations, and any existing pathology. Also important is digital photography and videography and three-dimensional printing. It is now possible to create detailed and accurate 3D models that can be used to study the anatomy of tissues, organs, and other body structures, including surgical planning. Then three-dimensional printing consists of creating three-dimensional structures using controlled additive layer manufacturing from virtual plans and models of anatomical structures, which may then be scanned by MRI or tomography. Once the virtual models are obtained, various tissues can then be differentiated. Computer-assisted and 3D printing technologies have been used to complement or replace traditional anatomy teaching. We also have web-based applications and slideshows, presentations, live drawings, radiological imaging techniques, such as computer tomography, magnetic resonance imaging, and ultrasound are increasingly being used to supplement the traditional use of cadaver for teaching of anatomy. And we also have video learning tools, which offer realistic visual experience and easy accessibility. These modern developments have influenced also research in the area of human anatomy. Anatomical research in the past 100 years has taken advantage of these developments and the growing understanding of sciences to create a thorough understanding of the body's organs and structures. The combination of these various methods in the study of human anatomy is now very common. But the use of cadaver is still regarded as the gold standard and fundamental pillar for teaching anatomy. Now, in concluding, I want to highlight a few points. The high cost for equipment and software is required to utilize many of these new technologies, and that is still a very big disadvantage. Specialized training is often required to efficiently interpret the output of the technologies, which is also another major disadvantage. There are sometimes ethical concerns, particularly with cadavers, and issues of privacy. But in spite of all these disadvantages, it is considered to be very positive, the technological advancements in this, particularly in the 21st century. The teaching and learning of human anatomy will continue to benefit from modern innovation and development. We also must realize that the COVID-19 pandemic enhanced and promoted the use of virtual classrooms and a reduction in face-to-face contact, and it's getting improved every day. So traditional classroom education should be complemented but not replaced by distance and other learning strategies, and we must embrace these new technologies. And so in the human anatomy class, we're really going to ensure that the best is done to maximize the benefit of these modern technologies. So in summary, in this lesson, we discussed the subject of human anatomy and its crucial role in the study of medicine and dentistry. We also discussed the basic divisions of anatomy, and we outlined the modern developments in the study of human anatomy, particularly in the 21st century. You have some questions which can aid your further understanding of this topic. and which can also assess, your understanding. And these exercises include simple questions like you explaining the historical origin of the word anatomy, discussing the role of human anatomy in the study of medicine, and then listing the divisions and sub-disciplines of modern anatomy, and then understanding what is plastination, for example, list the disadvantages of modern technological innovations used in the study of human anatomy. I'm sure that you have benefited from this presentation. Thank you.